Election Day, the annual day set by law for general elections of federal public officials. Yesterday, when I cast my ballot, I added a write-in candidate, not for an appointment, but rather the dismissal of Michigan head coach Jim Poopy Khaki Pants Harbaugh. Enough is enough. Just when you think maybe, just maybe they're turning the corner, the Michigan Wolverines lay a Hershey's chocolate-sized turd all over the big house as Mel Tucker's Michigan State Spartans rise from the dead following an embarrassing loss to Rutgers. The 27-24 loss is the final straw to the scarecrow as Saturday's Halloween bloodbath is a sobering confirmation that Harbaugh needs to go after he gags away yet another game to a rival foe. The emergency podcast edition of Detroit Sports Extreme starts right now. Recorded from the Big House in Ann Arbor, Michigan, this is Detroit Sports Extreme. Here now is your new voice for Detroit Sports, Johnny Bakerstone. Happy Election Week, Michigan, and welcome to another edition of Detroit Sports Extreme. We will talk about the Detroit Lions' pathetic 41-21 loss to the Indianapolis Colts on our next show. But for now, I want to devote a few minutes to the Michigan State game from Saturday, and in particular, the absolute monstrosity that is Jim Harbaugh. Michigan State 27, Michigan 24. Michigan entered Saturday's showdown against MSU as 21.5-point favorites, their highest projected margin of victory since the Clinton administration. And not only did they not cover, they lost the game outright to a state team who just lost at home to Rutgers. It's inexcusable. The Scarlet Knights, may I remind you, were fresh off a 2-10 campaign last year and a 21-game Big Ten losing streak. My God! After last week's impressive 49-24 win at Minnesota, which was only Harbaugh's second road victory against a ranked opponent while at Michigan, you thought maybe, just maybe, finally, Khaki Poopy Pants was turning the corner. And although the Golden Gophers were playing without their starting right guard, offensive tackle, linebacker, both kicker positions, and punter, it seemed like a nice win at the time. Problem is, Minnesota just followed up their season-opening hiccup against Big Blue by losing their second game of the season to Maryland, which unfortunately renders Michigan's opening night win a pot of fool's gold. The narrative on Harbaugh has always been, well, at least he beats the teams he should beat, but that wasn't even the case on Saturday, as Michigan looked beyond unprepared against a seemingly inferior opponent. My biggest takeaway, outside of all the drop passes, horrible play by the secondary, and ineffective offensive line, was the poor play of junior quarterback Joe Milton. Let's get a live listen in on that Joe Milton hype train. I'm sorry, but all off-season long, I read the Milton hype, and he failed to impress on Saturday against a state team that just gave up 38 points to Rutgers. Milton attempted an astounding 51 passes, completing just 32 of them, without a single pass going for a touchdown. It's too bad because he looked pretty damn good the week before at Minnesota, but this time against Sparty, he threw way too much into double coverage and held on to the ball too long at times. He simply did not look comfortable in the pocket, and that could be an issue all season long. Urban Meyer pointed this out while covering the game for Fox, and I think he knows a thing or two about football, and it bears repeating. Last week against Minnesota, 90% of Milton's passing yardage came from run-pass option. Mel Tucker and Michigan State obviously noticed that and played tight coverage, forcing Milton to beat them from the pocket, which he obviously could not do. My question is, why did we have to watch Michigan dick around with Shea Patterson last year, especially when it was quite apparent we were not going anywhere? Why couldn't Milton have gotten more reps and possibly dusted off some of these cobwebs? But now he has to learn on the fly in an 8-game season where every game matters even more than it usually does. Now, I can't put all of the blame on Milton, obviously, as he was constantly under pressure all afternoon, and the running game and offensive line were a mess. But my God, you have to find a way to win a game in which you're over a 3-touchdown favorite. Back now to Harbaugh. He came to Ann Arbor with lofty expectations, and I was one of the many people that loved the hire at the time if you listened to me at the Wave. But why is it that this guy cannot find a quarterback? After all, he recruited Andrew Luck at Stanford, and in 2010, they went 12-1, winning the Orange Bowl. But outside of Jake Rudock, Harbaugh's starting quarterbacks have been absolutely abysmal in Ann Arbor. That is, unless you've been impressed by the likes of John O'Corn, Brandon Peters, Wilton Spate, and Shea Patterson. Entering his 6th season at the helm, Harbaugh has never posted a record better than 10-3. He's 0-5 against Ohio State, and now just 3-3 against MSU. He's never been to a conference championship, and he's never been to the college football playoff. Oh, and he's 1-4 in bowl games. Get this, Jim Harbaugh has covered only one time at Michigan as a favorite against a ranked opponent. He has been outscored 118-66 by Ohio State in the last 2 seasons. He is 3-11 all-time in Ann Arbor against ranked opponents. I mean, I could go on all day long. All of this for a coach who is currently the 4th highest paid in college football, yielding more than $8 million a year. It seems criminal. Look, if you're fine with just being relevant every year, getting your asses kicked by your rivals, and making the Citrus Bowl, that's your prerogative. But as Brady Hoke would say, this is Michigan. Expectations have to be higher. Harbaugh has to be held accountable. This simply cannot be tolerated any longer. It's absolutely absurd. I don't even know if Michigan will fire Harbaugh. He is making the school money after train wrecks by both Hoke and Rich Rodriguez, but I know I would. And for those of you who would like to ask who is it we would hire if we should fire Harbaugh, that's a discussion for another day. But it's clear this is not working. If you disagree, that's fine. Please post it on our Facebook page at Detroit Sports Extreme. I'd love to have a debate and hear from you. That will conclude this brief emergency DSE podcast on Jim Harbaugh and the state of Michigan football. Please look for our next show later in the week that will go over the Lions' loss last week to the Colts and preview Sunday's game against the Vikings. We'll talk about the Tigers' hire of A.J. Hinch, and we'll even discuss a little basketball. You can find us on Facebook at Detroit Sports Extreme. We'll see you in a couple of days, Detroit sports fans.